Welcome back to the 2-Minute Warning. Today I'm looking at the New York Football Giants after they just signed cornerback Adoree Jackson. Kind of breaking news, but before getting to that topic, question for those of you viewing. Who is the all-time leading receiver in yards for the New York Giants in franchise history? If you know the answer, comment it down below. If you do not, I will reveal the answer at the end, so make sure you stay tuned. But looking at the Giants, pretty solid moves this offseason, kind of underrated in my opinion. They signed Kenny Golladay. I guess it's not underrated, but Kenny Golladay, probably the biggest wide receiver in the free agent market that was available. Of course, there was Allen Robinson and Chris Godwin, but they got tagged. So availability-wise, Kenny Golladay was definitely the biggest guy on the market. They re-signed their probably best pass rusher, and Leonard Williams got onto a relatively long-term deal, and now they are making moves in the secondary with Adoree Jackson. So you can't say the Giants have not improved from last year. Not a great last year, below 500, yet still almost made a playoff run. This year, though, brand new team that still is under Joe Judge, who I like as a coach, and now that they have him under the belt for an entire year, I think this team can make a huge improvement. Adoree Jackson is not going to be alone, though, in that secondary. He's got James Bradberry, Jabril Peppers, Logan Ryan. While Jabril Peppers and Logan Ryan aren't, Logan Ryan's getting up there in age, and Jabril Pepper is not what we expected him to be, but there's still plenty of talent in that secondary, plenty of wisdom, plenty of experience, and Adoree Jackson is the youth and electricity this secondary needed. Him and James Bradberry, I think, will do well. And I've already mentioned Leonard Williams helping out the pass rush. You got Lorenzo Carter as well. This is a solid defense. The offense is stacked, in my opinion, in the receiving core. You got Kenny Golladay as your number one weapon to go up and get a guy. Good duo in Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton. You got a route runner that can burn a couple guys in John Ross. He is really not what we wanted him to be. He broke the 40-yard dash in the NFL Combine. He was the first receiver taken in his draft class. However, he never panned out to be what we expected him to be. He's been injury prone. He's been inconsistent, but the Giants and Joe Judge might be able to turn around, and they know they're not getting him as a number one receiver by any means. He's just a role player that, could be due for 2 to 6 touchdowns this year on a burned go route, and he can just burn a defensive end with his speed. I definitely think John Ross is a good move that is underrated just because the upside is really there. You got 2 great tight ends in Evan Ingram and Kyle Rudolph. The depth chart on this receiving core is one of the deepest and one of the best in the NFL. Saqoun Barkley, top 3 running back in the NFL, arguably top 1. He's coming back and he's going to be healthy. The offensive line is not perfect, but it's pretty good, and they can work on it even more in the NFL draft. However, no matter how good the offensive receiving core is, no matter how good your running back is, no matter how good your offensive line is, no matter how your defense is, everything comes down to your quarterback and Daniel Jones. Everything is on his shoulders this year. I've said this before. There's a lot of quarterbacks this year that really need to prove themselves. Matt Stafford needs to prove that the Rams, it was worth trading for him. Carson Wentz needs to prove to the entire NFL that he could still be an elite quarterback. Sam Darnold needs to prove to the Jets he could be a starter. And Daniel Jones needs to prove to the Giants he could be a starter, and he is their franchise guy. I am giving him a break, benefit of the doubt. The past 2 years haven't been the greatest for him. He didn't have a lot of offensive weapons. He had a brand new coach in Joe Judge, but I do think Joe Judge is a good coach, and this coaching staff is great all around. I mean, you got Jason Garrett as definitely one of the better coordinators in the NFL. He used to be a good head coach that I think got, crapped on a little too much. I think he did a decent job in Dallas, but your coaching staff is set, your receiving core is set, your backfield is set, the offensive line, like I said, it's not the best in the NFL, but it's nothing Daniel Jones should not be able to work with. That offensive line is definitely doable, and like I said, it will only get better. And then looking at the defense, Adoree Jackson is not going to, shut down the top receiver. He's not going to, eliminate a Devontae Adams from the game, but his youth and electricity will just inspire this defense, and I seriously think take them to the next level. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he got a good chunk of change. I think it was around 3 years, $39 million. Pretty hefty price, but I do believe in Adoree Jackson. He wasn't, the loudest guy with the Tennessee Titans, but then again, I do think going to this new team with Joe Judge, not that Mike Vrabel, is a bad coach by any means, but I do think Joe Judge has the potential to become one of the better coaches in the NFL for sure. And Adoree Jackson and him will get along well, and I think this defense is just going to be great. There's a great mix of experience, there's a great mix of youth, and a great mix of talent. Like I said, Leonard Williams, James Bradberry, Logan Ryan, Adoree Jackson, Lorenzo Carter, and then on the offense, you already know the names, Saqoun Barkley, Kenny Golladay, but no matter what. I have to see more out of Daniel Jones. This is a winnable division. It's not like he's in the NFC West where he's got to deal with the Seahawks, Rams, Niners, and Cardinals, who all four are playoff teams, or the AFC North with the Steelers, Ravens, Browns, Bengals, who are all competitive teams. You're in the NFC East, by far the worst division in football. Daniel Jones, you have to win this division. I'm not saying it's a cakewalk there, because I do think Washington's getting better, especially getting Curtis Samuel and Terry McLaurin and William Jackson on their secondary. They got Chase Young. They got a good rookie running back in Antonio Gibson. But Daniel Jones, you have to prove that you're better than on 100-year-old Ryan Fitzpatrick. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, they're kind of a joke. Yes, Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys will not let you win easy by any means. Dak and Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb and Ezekiel Elliott are talented guys, but their defense is not that great, and it is nothing the New York Giants offense should not be able to handle. There are no excuses this year for Daniel Jones. He has to show that he can win football games and be their franchise guy. They got him everything he needs. He's got the receiving core. He's got the run game. He's got an offensive line he can work with. And he's got a defense that's not going to give up 40 points a game. There are zero excuses for Daniel Jones. And I'm not a Giants fan, but I am hoping the best for Daniel Jones. And I want to see him make it. But I do like what Washington is cooking up. I think they will be... Really, there is no number one landslide team in the NFC East that is like the landslide winner and the favorite. I think the Cowboys, Washington, and Giants all have their perks and all have their cons. But I don't think the Giants really have an excuse, or Daniel Jones has an excuse. They have everything figured out. It's just the quarterback position that has a question mark on his back. I'm rooting for him. I'm not a Giants fan, of course, by any means, but I'm excited to see what they do this year. I'm excited to see if Kenny Golladay can finally go from a losing franchise to not another losing franchise. I want to see the Giants be a good team, and I want Kenny Golladay to be on an actual competitor. Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, very underrated slot receivers, and kind of a duo in a sense. Kyle Rudolph and his experience with the young Evan Engram is going to electrify insanely overall. And John Ross, like I said, the role player X factor that could get you a couple random touchdowns when you need a deep play and a fast score. John Ross will be there. I love what they're doing. Adoree Jackson will help out tremendously, in my opinion. The athleticism and youth he has is really going to take this Giants secondary to the next level. They're not going to be the number one secondary in the NFL by any means. You got the Denver Broncos, who are creating a good secondary themselves with their signings, and Ronald Darby and Kyle Fuller and Justin Simmons. But I do think the Giants are on par with some of those top teams now. I do think this was a great signing. Little pricey, but I do think it will pay off. I do think this could be the finishing touch, the cherry on top that could really push this team to the playoffs. Don't think they're going to be a Super Bowl contender. Don't even think they'll make a deep playoff run. But who knows? If Daniel Jones comes out and surprises us all, becomes this MVP guy, this Giants team is serious. Everything will come down to him. They really can't give him much more help. Of course, you could get nitpicky and point out a couple things the Giants need, such as maybe one more pass rusher or one extra guard. But overall, the Giants have everything they need to be a playoff team. Daniel Jones just has to make it work for him, and I'm excited to see it. I think at this, based on paper roster, they should win the division, but we will have to see it. Like I said, I really like Washington. But overall, let me know what you guys think in the comments. What do you think of this signing in Adoree Jackson? Do you think this can help take the team to the playoffs? But do you think Daniel Jones will hold him back, or do you think he'll lift them up and take them to the playoffs? And who knows? I could be wrong. Maybe they will become a Super Bowl contender. I just don't see it as of right now because of how big of a question mark Daniel Jones is. But like I said, comment down below what you think. And for the question of the day, the all-time leading receiver in yards for New York Giants in franchise history is, of course, Amani Toomer. Thanks for watching, guys. Tune in the morning.